All right. Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and I hope you're ready to be blown away, music fans. Our guest today is David Coile. Sorry, I should have asked. Is it Coyle? Is it Coily? How do you say
It's
it?
Coil. You got it right the first time. Yeah. The E
Beautiful.
is
Okay.
silent.
The E is silent. Okay, yes. Wonderful English. Creative jack of all trades who found his true calling as a singer-songwriter after a midlife career change, which we were just talking about. With a booming voice, unique fingerstyle guitar, and a knack for blending catchy hooks with insightful storytelling, David has immersed himself in the Boulder, Denver music scene, working across genres from folk to punk. Thanks for joining me today, David.
Hey, thanks for having me. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I respect the hell out of your organization. I think it's amazing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. So the first question I got to ask is, in your view, what does it mean to be a practicing musician?
Oh, geez. I just think if you're just making music, I think that's it. I mean, because I think a lot about what's it like to be a performing musician. But I practicing musician is just if you're doing something, if you're actually I mean, literally, if you're literally practicing music, then you're a practicing musician, right? But I think if you're doing it for yourself, you're a practicing musician. If you're doing it for others, you're a practicing musician. I mean, there's other ways I would break it down. Certainly like a performing musician, that kind of implies you're doing it in front of other people. A professional musician implies that, well, it implies you're making money, but that may not be that may not be true. But you're at least putting yourself into a position where you could make money. But I think being a practicing musician just means that you're exploring your love for the craft, and you're learning and you're improving your skills, or maybe even not. Maybe you're just playing around and having a good time. I think if you could be a super sloppy musician, if as long as you're enjoying yourself, you're a practicing musician.
Yeah, totally. So on that note, it sounds like you really started to do this as a career in 2012, as we were talking about earlier. Were you a practicing musician before that time?
I would consider myself a practicing. Yeah, I mean, I was. I had been my journey as a musician. I mean, it was always something like singing in the basement while doing laundry, that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
I've always been a writer, and I would write songs just kind of off to the side, But I wanted to be a screenwriter in the '90s. I'm an old man, by the way. I'm 51. And in the '90s, I wanted to be a screenwriter. Didn't really put too much interest in the music, but I did have what I did is I got together with some friends to do an a cappella Christmas gift for people.
Mm.
We were poor. We were poor, like college students or just out of college. And so we put together an a cappella thing, and we were just using tape. We were recording on tape. We even came up with ways to layer using these really old tape machines. And and then afterward, one of the people we're doing it with was like, well, we both got some songs that we've written. Let's try to put them together. And he was like a really great musician, and I was a singer and a writer. I didn't really have any other skills at the time. And then so he was playing piano, trumpet, all that stuff. He went off to be a doctor because he has his priorities straight. And I just kind of kept wandering around aimlessly and doing creative stuff. And that was when I picked up guitar when I was about 27, and started doing that. Then I broke my arm, and I sort of started learning one-handed keyboard, which is
Right.
a good skill to have if you like multi-tracking. And I was
Yep.
doing film scores for local, like, friends of mine who were doing films for little local film competitions and things like that. And then when my arm got back, I would start writing songs again, but usually for coworkers, and then whatever. I had a midlife crisis at my job, and then I decided, and well, I had some friends that encouraged me to to indulge my creative interests. So I did. I went on a big, I sold everything, bought a van, went to the Pacific Northeast for about a year, tried doing a bunch of music, and then I was going broke, so I decided to come back to Boulder and be broke amongst friends. And I've been broke amongst friends ever since, but doing a lot of music and a lot of creative stuff and having a blast. And I'll tell you, uh, it was best choice I ever made.
Financially broke, spiritually wealthy, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it was the first time I had had like a real purpose in life,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how much that can really get you through difficult times if you really feel like you're pursuing something that's meaningful. Um, you know, some of these other things that you would normally think of as hardships don't seem that hard, or they
Mhm.
do, but they feel like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so 27, you picked up a guitar. That's the age that a lot of musicians die.
Yes, that's right. Well,
The white lighter curse or whatever that is. But
that's right.
so did you not play music before that time at all? You just were singing on your own and whatnot, but not formally educated
No,
or
I remain informally educated. I remember taking a class, or not a class, some lessons with a piano instructor, and whatever, it just didn't take. Uh,
yeah.
but aside from that, yeah, it's all been kind of self-taught.
No, I mean, there's a lot of amazing musicians that are self-taught. And I always go back to the fact that, somebody somewhere at some point in time created all this stuff.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
really need an education. Education can help accelerate progress, but at the same time, it can also kind of pigeonhole you into the way that everybody else is doing something. If the education isn't really expansive and giving you the right kinds of tools to be able to become your own self and express yourself in unique ways. So yeah, I think that's great. So during this time, you started playing guitar, and then it was about 10 years ago that you said that you were working at the job, had the kind of midlife crisis. What was that job that you were working at during that time?
I had been working with local senior services. It was a senior services agency with the city of Boulder. And
Hmm.
I worked there for about 12 years. And it was a job that wasn't something that I was necessarily passionate about, but I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I felt comfortable for a long time. I felt very comfortable for about a decade. And then the last 2 years, there was a bunch of turnover, and I took a couple quick promotions. And wow, I just burnt myself out pretty quickly. And I don't know, you sit there crying in an office and you're like, okay, I need to make a change. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I've never been in a corporate gig, but
Mhm.
I was serving tables, like I mentioned earlier, until March of last year. Like
Mhm.
that's how I funded practicing musician. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, I've been doing this for 15 years. I am so done. I do not want to be here. Like I know that my purpose is practicing musician, and we have a lot of people using it. We have a lot of amazing people supporting what we're doing, but for some reason I can't make any money doing it. So I'm still just like, what am I doing? And it's financially broke, spiritually wealthy. So
Yeah.
I'm a happy dude most of the time.
Well, I had another friend. I mentioned that my roommate passed away, but I just recently. But I also had another friend who passed away recently, who had built up a incredible nonprofit philosophy organization in town that I had volunteered with a lot, and likewise, they struggled to make money at the whole thing, but it was such a meaningful. They had a youth program in particular, which was really, really meaningful to the kids.
Yeah.
And what they did is, I don't know if you've ever seen those books that are like Star Trek and philosophy, or they'll take some sort of pop culture thing and just say, Taylor Swift and philosophy or something like that.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the structure of the whole thing. And it was a good program, and it meant a lot to people. And I imagine that you're making such a difference in so many people's lives with practicing musicians. So
Well, yeah, it definitely keeps us going, and it is fascinating to see, Star Wars and the ancient past that was brought into the philosophy behind the characters, or even the types of characters, the Jedi and these kinds of things, are from real other cultures.
oh, sure, yeah, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know George Lucas was he a lot of his movies were modeled after Akira Kurosawa movies.
Oh,
Like the Seven Samurai, or the Hidden Fortress. And so he was a huge fan of Japanese culture in particular, I think. So yeah, the samurai and the Jedi code, you know, it's very, yeah, there's a lot of Eastern philosophy, yeah, built in there.
I studied Japanese for 3 years in high school and then 1 year in college, and that is my one of my favorite cultures. It's beautiful and rich in history. And you go over there and you do like a tea ceremony that's like this thousands of years old ritual that they've been doing, and then you come back to America, it's like, hey, this house is 50 years old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny how the concept of old is so much different in the U.S. than it is elsewhere. What do you feel about what's the musical culture like in Japan? You know, what's a practicing musician in Japan?
So I visited Japan when I was in third grade. I went for 3 weeks. My
Oh,
mom's best friend was born there and then grew up partially here, partially there. They went to junior high all the way through college together, lived together, all this stuff. So I remember, boy, this is like, I wasn't as much of a musician back then. I'd been playing flute since I was 4. At that time, I'd started playing piano. But I remember them having these. I went over there. What I remember most distinctly is I got the red version of Pokemon on Game Boy before Pokemon had even come out in the United States. So that was pretty.
nice.
But they had these little discs, mini disc players is what they called them. I don't even
Oh,
think that they came out in the United States, but it was like a tiny square with a mini CD in it that you could put into almost like a tape deck. And then this was pre iPod and or pre whatever the first MP3 player was. But I remember thinking, this is fascinating. They've made it even smaller than the CD, and it works even better because it's protected by this case. I'm pretty sure it's called a mini disc player. So that's my most distinct memory of music when I was there in third grade. Then when I came back from college in 2012, it was actually January 2013. I decided to take classes at Shoreline Community College up here because they have a great audio engineering program, great music program that my uncle actually founded. And so I took the classes and I met a woman from Japan there who was really into punk music. So they have a pretty good punk scene in Japan, apparently. And so we played for the 4 months that she was studying abroad over here in a band called Squirrel that was really cool. And it was all Japanese lyrics. I didn't like, even though I'd studied Japanese, I had been a drug addict the whole time. I didn't remember a damn thing about any of the language or almost any of the language. So I couldn't understand what she was saying, but she was fantastic. And one of the things I remember about playing with her was like I was still smoking weed. I didn't get sober till December 19th, 2015. So I was smoking weed, drinking a little bit, doing a little bit of hard drugs, but it was mostly away from the very excessive use. And I just remember her saying one time, she's like, I really like your playing because it's not so perfect.
mm.
And I was like, that's Japanese culture, right? Where this is the way that you do it. It's going to be this, and we're like hyper vigilant.
Oh, you see, I love that. I love well, because I don't consider myself to be a punk rocker, but I love the punk rock ethos, which is just kind of I guess I sort of think it is like passion is more important than precision. You just sort of get out there and you should do it. I believe in learning as you go to a great extent, you know,
Yeah.
that if and I think a lot of people have this kind of block. It's like you spend a lot of time preparing, and you sort of talk yourself out of doing, and actually feeling like, you're never finished. You're never ready to do it. And I think I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just need to jump into it and just respect myself enough that eventually it's going to be okay. And it's worked out that way. I think it's like everything I do has sloppy beginnings, but it reaches a certain level of polish. But I don't know. The mantra that I have is that perfection is not the goal. The goal is to just communicate and express yourself and
Totally.
some go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I agree completely. It's there's all these stories about these great Seattle bands, Dave Grohl and Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, and they just sat there and I think Dave Grohl, there's an interview where he literally says, we just sat there and we sucked until we didn't suck anymore.
Yeah.
It's like that's a really great way of doing it. In fact, I get into a lot of these like mystery schools or like mystical versions of the organized traditions. And not gnosis is part of the mystical Christianity. Gnosis is a Greek word that just means spiritual experience.
Mhm.
And we even utilize this in our medical language. Diagnosis. Dia is an
Ooh,
etymological root that means
that's a good point.
through way of spiritual knowledge. So when someone's practicing medicine, what they're doing is they're understanding through way of spiritual knowledge how something came to be, and then they treat that cause. And so if we go in there and we just practice music like they're practicing medicine, then through our own experiences, we come to higher and higher levels of understanding. And so, yeah.
What I like about that is that when you're practicing music, you're kind of practice. I mean, the practice of medicine, the practice of music, you're kind of trying to, they're all goal. The goal is like well-being, right? So it's,
Mhm.
you're coming at it from different angles. Anyway, sorry, just making more connections. But
Oh, no, no, no. I love it. Yeah. So you're now in genres folk to punk. How did you choose those? Was it something that you were listening to before? Is it just the people that you're around? Like what makes you tick?
well, I think I say rock, folk, and soul. I think is what I usually describe myself as. Punk
Mhm.
definitely is within the range. I think this is any artist probably, but I mean performing artists in particular. You're kind of there's a lot of pressure to pick a genre, right? And that's a marketing thing. I think most musicians they see the weeds. They can't see their genre through the weeds. They're just they see themselves as just making music and they're pursuing the stuff that they're interested in, but they see the nuances. And oftentimes those are not genres. They may be more specific genres, or they may be more. I don't know. For me, I don't really like to stick to one thing. I do this project in January. That's when I do my writing retreat. Basically, every January I do a thing where I try to write a song every day in the month of January, and I try to explore a lot of different things. I mean, I like tight songwriting, so that's I'm within that, but I mean, I've got kind of a big voice, so it lends itself. And I grew up listening to soul singers. I was a big fan of Little Richard and Wilson Pickett
Mhm.
and Otis Redding. So that tends to be where vocally I'm at. Musically, I definitely was. I grew up in the grunge period, so a lot of that underground college stuff was appealing to me, and indie rock and indie folk was really appealing to me. So it's when you're picking a genre, it's really you're really thinking like, well, what would other people identify me as? In fact, I was talking about this. I've talked about this time over for years. Is about having like a class, putting together a class where uh, you get together, or a bunch of musicians get together. They play their music, and then the other people in the room they write down what genre do you think they are, because it may not be what you think you are. Other people may identify you as something very different than you identify yourself, and that's
Yeah.
useful information for when you're trying to market a show or something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of like I that's I know so many musicians that think the same way. It's like I'm just making music. Everybody else can decide what to call it. These labels, it puts us into a box and we just want to make our music. And but that's part of the problem I think with mainstream music a lot of the times is once somebody hits a big song, it's like, well, now I have to replicate that because this is my audience now.
Yes, this is one of my big questions here. Do you feel, because I think like you're saying, it's like you become big, somebody becomes big, they have the hit, and they're catering to their audience. And then you have a situation where like the previous audience thinks that person's selling out. And then
Mhm.
the audience that they've gained here, if they decide to explore something different, then the big audience they've gained thinks that they've sold out because they're not doing the same thing they used to do. And there's like all these kind of discussions about what counts as authenticity. And I kind of feel like authentic for the artist is oftentimes very, very different than what appears to be authentic for the audience.
Yeah, so the way that I typically think about this, I believe actually that this was something that Oprah said.
Ooh,
I'm someone, I guess, who's going to be quoting Oprah now. I
I know,
didn't
I
think
like it.
to do
No,
that,
she's had some good stuff.
but she says, if most people they want it's something along the lines of most people want to just be right, like I am this.
Hmm.
But if you can be okay with becoming, then you're constantly moving forward. So
Hmm.
there's two different ways of thinking about this, right? Like I want to be who I am, and then sometimes that I am is I figured this out, it's crystallizing, and the more that I do it, then the more like me I am. And so my favorite artists are not like that. My
Hmm.
favorite artist specifically is Steven Wilson, who continually reinvents himself over and over and over, utilizing, I mean, so many different genres and amazing musicians. A lot of the musicians that he works with ends up winning polls in Modern Drummer and all these magazines for being the best musicians of the year. And he's constantly doing something different.
Hmm.
Um, so much so that he says that he doesn't want his fans to stay the same. And if they do, he wants it to be because they understand that he's going to do something completely different. So it's just, both of those things tell you a lot about the artists themselves, I think. And I don't think that either one is better or worse, but for my personal preference, I could never do the same thing over and over. One thing that my uncle, who founded the program at Shoreline Community College, told me when I told him I wanted to go into music, which everybody thought I was crazy, because I was going to a school to do pre-med doctorate of osteopathy, and then I was like, I'd
Oh,
rather
wow.
do yeah, I just would rather have done drugs than pay attention to the hard sciences. So I did that instead. And I met on the day one, I met this girl whose grandfather was the president of Universal Studios when they created MCA. So I was like, and I was in a band with her for 4.5 years. So I was like, okay, I actually have a chance of making a music a career. But
Nice.
my my uncle told me the more that you learn about music, the less magical it's going to become. And unfortunately, to a degree, that is true because you see the same patterns being played in 90 to 95% of the music. And so to really, once you get into that music, unless you're okay, which, even Prince has a song called Joy in Repetition.
Hmm.
And so it's like, it really, and as musicians, we have to do a lot of repetition, but it's not repetition of the same thing. How I think about it now is I'm getting deeper and deeper into the subtleties of everything that I'm doing. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, that's a non-answer, but that's,
Well, to a non-question, it was just sort of we came organically to this discussion, right? So,
yeah.
but this is I think repetition is a fascinating subject because I remember reading someone suggesting that without repetition, music doesn't. I mean, that's like one of the foundational things of music. I mean, or at least this maybe it was a song they were talking about, but to have that creates the structure. Of course, you have drones. I'm fascinated by drones. I think in the
Hmm.
community I'm in, they're not quite as fascinated with drones. But the but I tend to be fascinated with drones. I love drones. I love that level of repetition and kind of going on. Uh, but I like the variety. But I think no matter how narrowly you focus, you can always find a way to be inventive within those constraints.
Hmm.
I mean, blues has been around forever, and yeah, it's like you can listen to a blues song and be like, "Wow, this is the same thing," but at the same time, it's not. The words are different, the rhythm of the language is a little different. I mean, that's the thing about rhythm is that you can infinitely carve things up into different ways. So there's always a way of making some difference, even if you have the same chord changes going on. And in fact, I actually get a little bit frustrated about when I listen to those YouTube uh, pastiches, or that's probably not the right word, but these YouTube medleys that some people do, where it's sort of like, hey, every song is the same, and they'll play four chords, and they'll say that this song is the same. Well, they're missing the fact that the melodies are wildly different. Oftentimes, their hooks are oftentimes really inventive. It's like, yeah, it's the same four chords, and you can focus. Another thing in my mind is that everything is the same and everything is different. I mean, there's always something that's you can find a similarity between almost anything, but you can
Yeah.
also find differences. When people worry about, I meet a lot of creatives who worry about being too similar to somebody else.
Mhm.
But my feeling is like, well, you know what? If you tried to copy somebody, you're probably going to be different. People would complain, right? Like if you were to try to do like a cover of your favorite artist, people would be complaining about how different it is. They'll be like, "Oh, you didn't capture that feeling." It's not. So I mean, even when you're trying to copy somebody else, now some people are genuinely brilliant at doing an exact copy of other
Yeah.
people, and that's a talent in its own right. But
Mhm.
I think most people, when they try to copy somebody else's stuff, it's going to be different. So and it'll be unique to their own way. Do you do much co-writing? Do you compose with other people?
I do, yeah. And before we go there, I think that you're spot on with that. I grew up in the classical world, Suzuki flute, and you can have 100 flutists play the same exact thing, which is literally written there in front of them, and
Yep.
it'll sound different. It's kind of like, for non-musicians or non-practicing musicians who are listening to this, it'd be like saying, well, it's just cheese and crackers. It's like, yeah, but one is Ritz with cheese whiz, and another is like an artisan cracker with cheese from France that's been aged for 3 years. It's like, so yes, technically it's the same thing, but like really it's technically not the same thing at the same time. Uh, and you can tell by and that's what my uncle, when he told me that, it to a degree he's right, but then you get the quality is the difference between the things that are seemingly similar or even the same at a surface level. And that's what I've really appreciated, and that's why I think being a practicing musician can like that's a lifelong pursuit. It's never going to end. In fact, we could spend probably eternity getting
Uh-huh.
more and more refined in what we're doing. So yeah, no, I agree completely. What was your the question you asked?
Well, I was asking, just have you and I'm coming from a completely different, you're coming from a very structured kind of learning system with the Suzuki method and everything, and I'm
Yeah.
coming from a completely unlearned perspective, and I'm just thinking that I was thinking about co-writing. Do you ever have you ever put together a collaboration or composition with somebody?
Yeah, oh, so many. So a little bit about my history. I come from Suzuki, studied flute for 11 years till I was 15. During that time, also did jazz band
Oh.
with alto saxophone, did more classical piano, landed landed on drums, and my friends and I played in the garage.
Mhm.
We just sucked until we didn't suck anymore. What ended up happening was I then went to the Claremont colleges, and at Harvey Mudd, they had a jazz improv class with one of the computer science professors there who just loved music. In fact, he'd created a software called Improviser to teach you how to improvise.
Oh,
So I
wow.
learned how to improvise when I was there. And when I came back to Seattle, I was able to improvise very well and play parts very well and play by ear and play by reading. So I kind of have a very, very well-rounded. I can't improvise as well on flute as I can on drums, and I can't read as well on drums as I could on flute. But I can do it all. And so I have, over the years now, composed with tons of different groups in ways that are, this is the framework of the song, and then we're going to have these improvisational parts. This is an entirely composed song. This is pretty much just the chord progression that we're going to use, and it's going to be almost entirely improvisation. There's a really great it's called Mo Jam Mondays up here in
Hmm.
Fremont, neighborhood of Seattle, which is it's at a club called the Nectar, and it's been happening every Monday for I think 11 years now. and you go and you sign up for your instrument, and everybody signs up for their instrument, and you get paired with random people. There's can be up to 15 people or so on stage at a time, and somebody plays a riff, and then you play for 15 to 20 minutes, not a song, whatever happens. And so I've been doing that a lot, and that's really fun to just completely improvise in front of a sometimes packed two-story club, which is really fun. And then, I'm also I've been working on this for the last 4 years with our now, he just finished his PhD, and he's now our junior director of artificial intelligence and music and education. And we've been working on a project where we're composing for a full symphony plus guitar, bass guitar, piano, drum kit, and vocals and full choir. And so this is fascinating because so I'm learning how all of these different layers fit together, and it sounds amazing. And I wish I love doing so much stuff. So I've been focused on practicing musician so much that that's going very slow. But when that happens, like there's times where I just sit there. In fact, like there's one of the songs that I wrote in fact, I've written all the lyrics to everything, but there's one song that I was just driving up to Everett, about a half an hour drive, and all of a sudden it was like the entire song, the melody, everything was in my head, and I was singing it, and then I just put on talk to text and recorded it, and now that's a song. And then there's other times where I have to sit there and like be like, okay, what's this measure going to be? And I spend a half an hour doing it. So yeah, I just want to be in that. I think that for me, I do enjoy the process of creating more so than anything. Being in
Yeah.
that flow of like what is happening in this moment, and how do I translate that into from my internal experience into an external understanding for people. And that process is fascinating to me.
So when you're constructing, when you're like deliberately writing a song, does it feel like you're putting a puzzle together, or does it feel like you're just discovering things, or do you feel like you have do you start off with the kind of scaffolding in your mind? It's like, this is the outline, and it's like maybe a crossword puzzle. You're trying to fill in the gaps, or well, how does it appear?
It's completely different. So with the first song that we wrote for this project, I was sitting at the piano, and actually what I was doing is I was practicing doing polyrhythms with my hands,
Uh-huh.
but also a polyrhythmic double bass drum, so that I could practice 12 different things lining up at the same time rather than just four with polyrhythms on my hands and feet drumming. So, and
I'm so intimidated by you right now. This is great. This is great. I love it. I love it too. Keep going. Sorry.
well, I just, I got to figure out new ways to figure out how to connect my the two hemispheres of the brain, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to see like how can I better make the two halves of my body work together. But so I figured out this like rolling on E flat pentatonic that just kind of goes like this. And it was like this wave crashing. And then I wrote it down, and it was like a sine wave going in and out. And I was like, this is amazing. So we started from that. That song took about a year to fully write out. And what we did is we just said, okay, we're going to go, and I'm going to do these four measures this week, and you're going to do those four measures. Then you're going to write over my four measures a different instrument, and I'm going to write over your four measures a different instrument. And we layered that until we got a full song. There's another one where it was just like, this is the song, and it just like flew out. So I wrote that down, and then he hit a few instruments on top of that entirely, and that song was just pretty much done. I can also start like with instrumentation first, because I hear like some melody in my head, and then we figure out lyrics later. And sometimes it's the lyrics first. So, I don't know. I don't have a process, or rather, like when I get what my buddy calls an inspiration particle. When
Uh-huh.
I get an inspiration particle, then I figure out the format that I'm going to utilize to bring that into manifestation. So, yeah, what's your process?
Well, like I was saying, I get around to I mean, I mix it up too, but I pretty much do most of my songwriting in January. And the reason why was there was a period where, I mean, what I really care about is writing songs. That's what I really, really care about. Everything else is kind of incidental, playing guitar, singing, whatever, performing even. And uh, I was finding that the business of booking shows, rehearsals, marketing, all that stuff just made it really tough for me to be writing. I was writing maybe like 6 songs a year, which is not bad, but it's not really what I wanted to be doing for something that I was really passionate about. So I decided, and I don't know if you get like this, but I think a lot of artists kind of periodically are like, okay, maybe I need to quit this whole thing, and so I decided I was going to well, if I'm going to quit the whole thing, I'm going to go out with a bang. So I decided I was going to try writing a song a day for the entirety of January, which to me was a big deal. I've now met people that write a song every day, for years, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, so I'd write a song a day every year. The only condition on my part was that each day's song had to be different from the one before, because it could be easy to just write the same thing. And in fact, it's hard not to write the same thing, because the song that you wrote the day before is still going through your head, the day after, or at least with me. So, I would typically, so when I'm doing my fast writing there, I would just try to find something that was distinct from the day before. So that could be, maybe I wrote a sad song, so I'm going to write a happy song. Maybe I had this rhythm, I want to do a different rhythm. I did, maybe, I want to avoid doing these chords. There's also, turns out that dovetails with another program out there for songwriters called the Fearless Songwriter. A fellow by the name of Timmy Reardon runs it. And he does week-long challenges. He challenges songwriters to write a song a day for a week. Each day he'll post a prompt, and it has a very supportive community. I would highly recommend people look for the Fearless Songwriting or Fearless Songwriter program, I think it is. But Timmy Reardon runs that, and they do it 6 times a year. So I know a lot of people that do it. They love it. They love the community. And if you want a really supportive community to help you with songwriting and just jumpstart your songwriting, it's a great way to go. And then I also would pick out, I think I would do a third co-writes, which kind of brings us back to the question that I had. A third of the songs that I do in January, just to try to help me out, would be to do co-writes with other people in the community. And I guess what I was asking you about collaborations was, and in your case, it sounds like, with a lot of the improvisation stuff, you would expect it to be different every single time.
Yeah. And sometimes I play with people who are not that way, and I'm also thinking that it could be different. So I mean, I can do both. But yeah.
Well, I think what I was going to say was that, I sit there and I'll write the song with somebody, and we'll write it a certain way. And then we won't necessarily play it together. They may go off and do it in their show. I'll do it in my show, whether it be solo or with a band or whatever. And I'm always amazed at how the same song that we wrote together, we were very deliberate about how vastly different that song is when the other person plays it. I'm like, that barely sounds like the same song. It's the same words. It's the same chord changes. It's oftentimes, but is it? It's oftentimes different rhythm. There's a lot of embellishment people do when they're singing, especially when it comes to lyrics. You have the basic lyrics, but people have filler words they throw in. And to me, it's just fascinating to me how different and okay, I'm going to plug I have a podcast called Raw Songwriting. And one of the things I do is I invite songwriters on and I challenge them to write a song in 1 week based on a prompt. And I give them like a set of prompts that they can choose from. And then I have to write a song to the same prompt. And then we get in and we talk about it. And the songs are always wildly different. It doesn't matter that it's on the same topic. And I think this is important for people to understand, that just because somebody else wrote a song about skateboarding or something, it doesn't mean that because you're writing a song about skateboarding that it's already been done.
Yeah.
It can be wildly different. But yeah, anyway, I to me, I'm fascinated I guess I'm fascinated with how many small differences there are, even when you're basically trying to do the same thing. It just, I don't know.
Totally. No, I agree. And it's So with one of the bands that really got so for one of the first times that I realized this, um, I was 15 and I'd been trying to play this song for 8 months on drums.
Mhm.
And I was maybe 16. I'd been playing for about a year. And because I'd only been playing for a year drums, but I'd been playing music for 12 years. So I got pretty proficient pretty quickly. I was playing this song for 8 months and I couldn't get it. It wouldn't line up. And I was like, this is so weird. And finally, and it was Steven Wilson through Porcupine Tree, and the drummer, Gavin Harrison, who is phenomenal. He has these two instructional DVDs, Rhythmic Horizons and Rhythmic Illusions. And so I started like trying to find interviews with him talking about this song. And I discovered that what he did is he placed 4/4 over 7/4
Mm.
so that it makes 7/4 easy to dance to. And
Huh.
I was like, well, so because everybody can feel four, but seven a lot of times like wait, hold on, I have to like stop and like like and so I was like, oh man, this is so amazing because it feels like it's in four, but it is 100% different than anything that I had ever heard. And this has since become like a very, very famous song in the drum community because he was able to accomplish that. But when was a time that you realized that that these subtleties really change the way? I mean, what you're doing with your podcast, and I want to talk about that too, is phenomenal. But how did you even come up with that idea to realize that you can because what you're essentially doing is you're showing people who have no musical background how different things can become. And that's a phenomenal pursuit. So when did you realize that and how did you come up with the idea for the podcast?
I suppose my sometimes you define things after the fact, right? So I would say that some of the usefulness of picking one topic in both and finding the differences. I think it was somebody else who pointed out to me that that was one of the functions of it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true, and it is something that I believe because I used to have a friend that I used to do comedy, sketch comedy and improv way, way, way back when.
Hmm.
And I had a friend that, we would be trying to write some sort of script or something. He's like, oh, that's already been done. And I understand, like, you have comedy, you have the punchlines, you have the setups and the punchlines, and you look at stand-up comedians and you see a lot of the same jokes. And they're very short, right? So and sometimes they feel like they're exactly the same joke. So sometimes somebody does it a little better than the other or whatever. But
Yeah.
you can also have a lot of variation on that. But no, the podcast came about. That was a pandemic project. Uh, it was just looking for something to do. I had a friend who he decided to start writing a song every week, and I was kind of inspired by that. But I guess one of the things that I like to do is anytime if there's something that I need to do, uh, I look to see if there's a way that I can make it double as a marketing tool. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of modern marketing basically is just showing your work. And so I was like, well, okay, if I write a song every week, can I make it into a show? And when you're like, if you make it into a show, is there a way to involve other people so you can make connections with people and build community? And so that's what it is. I figured, okay, I'm going to write a song every week. This was my excuse to write a song. So, but I'm also going to, invite other people in on board, and I'll interview them and give them a chance to. And I know a lot of people are scared to show their dirty laundry. Not everybody wants to do that. So the format of the show is the first half is basically covering their more polished material and talking about their songwriting process in a normal setting or an unusual setting, whatever. But usually we talk about two songs. And then the second half, we go into the challenge. And that usually, most people, that's thrown them for a loop. This is not how they normally write. And so, you learn a lot about, like, how did they adapt to doing something in a week. Some people, it's like they write a song every day, so they're used to this. It's not a big deal. Other people, they take months to write a song, so it's different. Uh, but it's always a fascinating discussion. And like this one, like your podcast, I love tangents. So finding these tangents to go off on is really fun. And then I also get a chance to show off my own song, so that's always cool. And I have mine at the end, and sometimes I'm a little bit lazy about the production on the whole thing. But anyway, I think it's a good time. It's a good time. People enjoy coming on. I also do. I have follow-up episodes where we do like critique sessions. We'll get like a little group critique, and sometimes we'll do theme shows. But the crux of it is just having one guest on, and we talk about their songs and a song they wrote in the moment. So
Nice. How do you come up with the prompts?
there is oh boy, I don't want to miscall it what it is, but it's called the randomwordgenerator.com. I think that's the website. You go to randomwordgenerator.com, and they've got, and that's not the only spot. There's a lot of random word generators out there, or random generators out there. But this one I've used probably the most. And you go there, and they've got random generators, not just for words, but for pictures, for I like to pull out weird words. That's my thing. I want to get like a weird word that I've never heard before, and lay that out there. Random quotes, random trivia, and those are great for prompts. I'll usually customize the prompts a little bit to what I imagine the guest might like based on what kind of music they do. But I still try to throw a few. There's also kind of the host's choice, so I can come up with. I think one of the prompts I gave was like, write a song using only the words "I love" and "you," which nobody chose, but that you can come up with weird ones if you want to, or that everything has to be a question, and these are all things that you can come up with some really interesting things. And I don't require anybody to stick to the prompt. I actually say every time, it's like, choose one of these prompts. You can choose all of these prompts or a combination, or you can just go off on your own. But just whatever you decide to do, let me know so I can work from the same starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie Whiplash? Did you see that?
I have not seen it.
Oh, okay.
I know,
Okay.
and everybody says that I should see it, and I haven't seen it. I need to see it.
Well, I just want to know. It's like, did you appreciate it? I always want to know from a drummer's perspective, did they appreciate it or were they appalled by it? Because I could see it going either way.
Well, I've seen a few clips, the clip where the teacher's saying that the guy who's actually really good is not good, and then all these people who kind of suck, he's like, "Oh, great job." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Wait, what's happening?" And I think largely that I am that teacher to myself.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so what I mean is it's like I see everybody else, and I think that this is quite honestly the crux of most religious belief.
Hmm.
Being completely graceful to other people and holding myself in extremely high standards. And so that's, I think that that's what's so important is and in business I can't be as graceful with other people because I have to make sure that we hit deadlines and do all these things. But the reality is it's like we're born completely free and there's cause and effect. And so if other people want to maintain freedom in the sense that they don't want to have a well-developed skill set, that's totally fine. And so I shouldn't be hard on them for that. I don't have to necessarily work with them in one way or the other. I can determine what type of relationship I want to have with them. But for myself, and it's not even to want to be better than other people. There was definitely an element of that when I was growing up, and that's probably why I was a drug addict and an alcoholic for such a long time. But the reality is, what's really important to me now is to inspire other people, to show them the potential when you have this type of skill set, because there's an Indian mystic, Sadhguru, who says it's in such an easy way to understand, which is the skateboarder, the more control that a skateboarder has, the more free they are.
Hmm.
And it seems counterintuitive to a lot of people who just want to live, be free spirits, do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it, these kinds of things. And what I've learned is that I actually have the more ability to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it if I have a greater skill set. But that skill set takes the discipline to be able to acquire. So
Yeah.
it's this interesting paradox, I suppose, that yeah, I just that's kind of how I have the I guess the experience that I've come to. So um
Well, I
yeah.
think one of the things about because I think if you're like deliberately I think some people get lost in the weeds when they're trying really hard to be good at something, that can get in their way. And but at the same time, I mean that's been my experience to some degree, is that I the search for perfection. I tend to think of myself as a three-quarter ass kind of guy. I'm not doing things half-assed, and I'm not doing things full-assed, but I'm doing a three-quarter assed, and that's oftentimes I get some sort of feeling of accomplishment on the whole thing. Now, it's true that like I may not have the skill set that a lot of folks do, and you're right, that limits your choices. If you've got less skill set. Um,
Well,
but I
actually,
think
I think what
when you
you just said.
practice really well, it's sort of like you get to a point though where you don't have to be conscious about it, right? It becomes an unconscious thing. So you're not. I think that's what you're kind of describing, is you get to the point where you've got these skills so mastered that you don't have to be you don't have to be as conscious of it. You don't have to be self-conscious about it. You can just go with it, right?
Well, that is, and I think three-quarter ass would actually be a perfect way of describing what I'm talking about as well, because if you become perfect at something, then that means that you are losing out on everything else.
Huh. Yeah.
Right. And so because it's like, no, it has to be done this way. This is why people with perfect pitch oftentimes hate music.
Mm,
Because it's like, oh, that's
like
out of tune
torture.
slightly, like
Yeah.
one hertz out of tune. And it's like, I
Yep.
can't. But so it's this, and the other thing is that there's never going to be creativity if it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're doing it the exact same. You're like, no, it has to be this way. And it's like, well, then you're never going to be creating something new. So the three-quarter ass is probably the perfect way of describing what I'm trying to say as well. And what that does is it opens up for this multidisciplinary approach, because I don't have to focus solely on music for drums. I get to focus on other instruments. I get to focus on music education. I get to focus on. We've got a whole lot of other projects going on. I've got multiple businesses, and we've got I've been getting into patent law and
Oh, wow.
trademarking for IP for all the different technologies that we're building. We're getting into open source. I had to learn how to code. I had to learn how to do. I'm in a financial accounting class at Harvard right now. Like, I have to build out our customer relationship management system. I have to build out, I'm having to do all this stuff. And it's just like, okay, well, all of this is giving me a different perspective
Hmm.
on everything else. And, if I talk to an actual expert in these things, then they're like, yeah, he knows probably three-quarter. He's probably three-quarter ass. They can
Yeah. Yeah.
tell. But yeah, it's really interesting. Uh, so what things do you do that are outside of music that inspire your music and your songwriting?
Um, I I love music. I'm not music. Sorry. Yeah, of course I love music. Why else would we not be here? So I love movies. I'm a
Ooh,
big movie fan. That's in fact I'm was a movie fan before I was a music fan. Really, I think that used to be kind of the family activity, and probably I'm not a terribly religious person, so going to the movies every week is kind of the closest thing to going to church for me. And I still insist on going to the movie theater. I mean, I can enjoy watching it on a small screen at home, but I love having a big old wall of faces looking at me and everything. Um, so movies are a big thing. But I mean, just human interaction, right? a lot of the stories that when I'm writing, I'm writing stories, and they're or their emotional moments or whatever. But that all comes from just interacting with people, and uh, I've had a wide group of people that I interact with in other various ways.
Mhm.
So yeah, just human interaction. And I'm an introvert too. I may not seem like it. I'm a
No,
well
I was
practiced,
gonna say you don't seem like it at all.
and maybe introvert is not even the word, but I've got a huge amount of social anxiety. I'm just very I'm well practiced, and that was when I was thinking about what we were going to be talking today. I was thinking about like strategies for how can you be if you're trying to get out there and do music and perform and whatnot, what are the strategies for introverts? And I'd say that all the projects that I come up with are all my introverted way of trying to deal with that, because you set up a project, even something like this, it's like you've got clear defined barriers here, that kind of ease the interaction in my mind. It's like I know we're going to be talking for an hour
Yeah.
or an hour and change, right? And from my perspective, whether it be introversion or social anxiety, that's a huge boon to me. Knowing that I don't have to go stay on for forever. When you're performing in front of an audience, there's an invisible wall between you. It's different. I don't actually, even though I perform live, I don't really enjoy going to live shows because I don't like being in a crowd. And but playing in front of a crowd is a much different thing because you've got a barrier there. And I'm sorry, I'm totally gone off the rails. I did not answer. I did answer. I sort of answered your question, but
Well, I
movies.
think this is a really interesting place to explore because, like I was mentioning earlier, like one of the things that artists do is they take the internal experience and try to explain to people as and that's as a business person, I always say vision is just articulating something that other people believe but can't articulate themselves.
Oh, I like that.
And it's the same kind of thing as a musician. It's just what is my experience? I'm going to put that out in the world. Somebody's going to connect with it. Somebody's going to have that same experience. They're going to say, "Thank you so much for explaining this because wasn't able to put words to it," or the
Mm.
emotion behind the song, the melody and whatnot. Though that has it had an impact on me because I had the same experience, right? And so, whether you become a practicing musician, which does that for yourself, which is very beneficial, and even if you're not doing that to be beneficial, it's just fun. Playing music is fun, but the performance aspect, one of the questions I ask a lot because of this introversion conundrum is which introverts have a lot more experiences to relay to the world, but then they don't want to be out in front of the world to relay them. So that's why I say it's a conundrum. So like there's in every musician's experience, embarrassing moments that they've had on stage and or humiliating even. I've got a ton of them. What are some that you've had and how did you overcome that? And how do you now realize that, it's just, it happens and how do you help other people who might be worried about performing that it's not that scary?
I think the big thing is the audience doesn't know. They don't know when you're making the mistakes.
Yeah.
That the this was I used to be one of those guys that somebody would come up and compliment me about something that I was doing on stage, and I would immediately apologize for it because in my mind I was screwing up, and it was a horrible, horrible. You're sort of invalidating the person when they come up like that, and it's not cool. So in learning to control my reaction to my response to people complimenting me, it made me just kind of come to terms with the fact that no, it's the audience doesn't see the mistakes that we're doing, or I think the big thing is just that they see the net positive. That they're when you're taking in a piece of art, and if I think about this is the other thing I think about, the music that I love, uh and I think in terms of songwriting mostly, but my favorite songs are not perfect songs, not quote unquote perfect songs. That they I could sit down, if I were to do a critique, if I were to take a song to a critique session, um it would be easy to pick apart various things on it, but yet there's something about that song that was compelling enough to me that it is one of my favorite songs. I would listen to it over and over and over again. And I think there's, when it comes to like managing or supervising people, one, when you're doing reviews, they talk about, well, are you focusing on the things that the person's doing wrong or the things that they're doing right? And you could focus on fixing the stuff that they're doing wrong. Not to say that you shouldn't do that. I mean, you should, but there's also the philosophy of like, well, let's just try to focus on what you do right and get you doing that as right as possible. Let's get the maximize what we can about the good stuff about you so that the bad stuff doesn't really matter, and I kind of feel like with art, that's oftentimes how it is, because you'll hear perfect music and it's not as compelling.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes not as compelling. And it may be like every word is written right. They play every note just fine. And then I'll go listen to some punk rock and really sloppy stuff from like the 70s or something. And it's like, wow, that one idea really stood out to me. And that's all I need. That's all I need. And there are some people that are just naturally hypercritical, and so that they've got a different experience of art,
Yeah.
and I understand that. But for I think most people, they really latch on to the good thing, and that carries them through all the mistakes. And they may not even notice the mistakes until other people point them out.
Yeah, that's been my experience largely too. Most people aren't going to a show hoping that you're going to mess up.
Yeah.
Going to be in the moment. There's a lot of things that are going on. Most people aren't looking like at your fingers or whatever. And yeah, it's really, really important to understand. And the other thing too is like one of the experiences that I had that led me to understand this was in 2008, right before I went to college. I saw Radiohead at White River Amphitheater, amazing show, and they got into this song. I think it was Faust Arp, and they messed up 3 times at the beginning, and he kept saying, "Oh man, I messed up. I gotta start over." And the whole crowd would just laugh, and then he'd be like, and they did it again, third time messed up. It's like, man, I swear we're gonna get it this time. And the crowd goes, "You got this."
Nice.
It's like what a biggest band in the world completely messing up, and everybody's rooting for them.
Well, this was I was talking to a friend, or I talked about several friends about AI, the impact of AI on art.
Mhm.
And I think particularly performance art, there's nothing that AI is going to do to be able to destroy live performance, right? There's
Yeah.
always going to be a market for that, because you could listen to a recording and get a perfect version of whatever song this band might be playing. That's not why you're going to a live performance. You want that immediate connection. And part of what makes it immediate is either the flaws or the chance that somebody might make a mistake. You get those like if you go to an improv, like I did some comedy back in the day. If you go to an improv comedy show, that is not about it being the best comedy ever. I mean, a lot of improv is really awful, but it's
Yeah.
still impressive that people can kind of come up with stuff on the spot. And half the fun is actually when it is awful. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the mistakes matter. The mistakes matter. And
Yeah.
I think how you work with mistakes, that matters too. And that's part of the entertainment.
Yeah, well, so we're a little bit over time. I got one more question for you, which is what advice would you give someone just starting their journey as a practicing musician?
I would say commit to something that's scary to you. Say, just commit to something like 3 months out, and say, sign up for it. Don't give yourself the opportunity to back out. Just say, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to do it whether I'm ready or not. And even if you get up there and you fail miserably, you're going to be so much further along than if you waited.
Yeah,
So you'll have learned, it'll be that three-quarter ass thing. It's like you may not be perfect, but you're going to be three-quarters of the way closer than you would have been otherwise.
totally. Yeah, great advice. Thank you. I guess I should say one other question. You
Oh,
plug your podcast. Where can people find that, and what other things would you like to plug here before we get off?
I would go to my website, www.davidcoile.com. You can find all my stuff. I've got a podcast tab, but I mean, most of the podcasts you can find on, the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just whatever the distributor gets it out to all those places, Audible or Amazon.
Mhm.
The podcasts that I got going right now are Raw Songwriting is probably the one that's actually popular. Then I've got one called Mr. Waz, which is movie reviews with original songs, and that's where I do a short review of a movie that I just saw in the theaters, and then I play one of my. I've got a bunch of songs, so I usually find a song that has similar themes, and then I do a podcast called Sleepy Tales and Slumber Tunes, which is similar. But what I do is I read kind of a bedtime story, and then I read a song, a kind of a lullaby. That's again an original song. So those are the three projects I got going right now. Oh, I guess I got another one called Lost Pinata, but that just got started, and it's still kind of working out its format. That's with a friend of mine.
Very cool. Very cool. So that's davidcoile.com.
That's right.
Yeah, and thank you very much, David, for coming and joining me on the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will potentially resume in 2 Fridays. So we really look forward to the next guest. And again, please check out David's stuff. Fantastic conversation that we had here. And I'm sure that your other podcasts are amazing. In fact, I'm going to go check them out as well.
This
So
was a blast. Thank you so much for having me on.
yeah, thank you. All right. Let's see.